Hey, what's up? Welcome to the quick hitter version of Catch and Shoot 2.0, along with Otto Strong and Bruce Bernstein this week. I'm Aaron Berlin. This week on the show, Otto, Bruce, and I discuss some of the issues the league is dealing with when it comes to gambling and the integrity of the game. Bruce, you had an interesting nugget in our notes today. And for people who don't know, Bruce and our producer, Daniel Kramer, do a great job of giving Otto and I potential topics to kind of run through before games or before shows. And they really do a lot of the legwork that helps make this show happen each and every day. But Bruce, you had an interesting nugget on just kind of like maybe some of the issues that the NBA is going to have to deal with as sports betting and as gambling as a whole starts to take on more of a presence, whether it's in arena, whether it's at sports books in Vegas. And I just wanted to maybe put this on the table of what you guys thought about this issue a little bit.
It kind of grew out of the whole Zion Williamson story, because part of that story that we didn't really get into was the fact that there is definitely some question as to whether the team knew what his real physical condition was when he had this foot problem in the offseason, because there wasn't really a whole lot coming from the organization about it. So people are wondering, gee, did Zion and Zion's camp, did they have the team fully informed about what his physical condition was? And that led me to think, well, okay, if that's the sort of thing that can happen with the Pelicans or any other team for that matter, now that the league is involved in gambling, with people like regular fans like us and, some of the folks that just follow the sport, where they're actually putting their money down on the team, they have to have a pretty extensive amount of disclosure when it comes to injuries, when it comes to who's going to be load managing coming up. Because if you're going to bet on a game and you're betting on a Laker game and it's a LeBron James load management night, I mean, that stuff has got to be out there for people to know about. Otherwise, there's going to be just this whole sort of cloud, I think, over the sport, because gambling has always kind of been the third rail when players or managers or, the Pete Roses of the world, or go back 50 years, Paul Hornung of the Packers was suspended for a season for gambling. So if gambling is now going to be, every team is on the gambling train now, right? So if this sport is going to maintain its sense of being legitimate and above board and whatever, there's got to be a lot of more like disclosure of anything that could affect not even who's going to win or lose, the point spread, right? Because that's what people are betting on. So I think there's a can of worms that really hasn't been cracked open yet, but I think it's something that we can probably look in our windshield and see some of these things possibly in the horizon. I mean, what do you guys think?
I think you got a six-pack of can of worms, to be honest with you, because I mean, for starters, sports gambling is illegal in Texas. So 3 franchises, boom, you're out. Mavericks, Rockets, Spurs. That's in terms of in arena, that's a non-starter right there. And we could debate whether that's I mean, that's Texas state law. I'm not going to wade into that one, but just put that to the side. The other issue you raised, I mean, there is the issue of what players who are associated with the game may do. But that's, to me, separate from what John Jane Q fan may or may not do. Well, what I mean by that is load management has been a thing for a while. I don't think that gambling is going to be the thing that undoes load management. Or another way to say it is buyer beware. Like, this is the way the league operates. And sometimes, so you kind of know, I mean, Bruce, and Aaron, you guys know that, if you see a back-to-back, especially when they're 2 road games, you figure, okay, stars are, if their stars are over the age of 30, they're probably going to take off one of the two. But a lot of fans, the excitement of it all may not, if their team's on a little string, they may not do all of the research that is required to be done in order to make a smart play, shall we say. So like I as always, put down the money that you can afford to lose, not the money that you need to eat. So that's a whole other issue. But I don't think that the league, right, at least right now, I don't think the league or teams owe anything to gamblers with respect to whether he is or is not going to play, because gambling has been around for a while. Yeah. It's new in terms of the way that teams can interact with it and the way that fans can interact with it. But gambling, it's in and of itself has been around obviously a long time. So
yes, but the difference being, it used to be that gambling was you called your bookie and your bookie took your bet, and your bookie didn't have any connection to the franchise. The franchise wasn't in business with the bookie. Now the franchises are in business with the various, DraftKings and the official, betting partner of the NBA. I mean, I don't know if that's who it is, but you've heard those commercials. So now that you're a business partner, you could, all right, if you don't practice full disclosure, right? And you're right, a lot of fans are pretty sophisticated and they can kind of do some research, but it may well be, and I'm not accusing anybody of anything, but I'm just throwing this out there. It may well be that the leagues want there to be less information out there because in effect, they're the house. So if the people betting have inferior information to the house will theoretically do better over time. So, and that's another thing. So if the leagues opt not to practice full disclosure, or at least more disclosure, that's going to put a cloud over them too. Cause it's like, geez, these franchises, man, are they shady now? Are they like, not sending out information because they want the gamblers to be more ignorant of, what's going on? I'm just asking.
It's an entirely different issue, but it's in the same vein of what the NBA is already dealing with. I mean, when you look at a lot of these rosters right now across the NBA, and for the last few years, you can make an argument that most teams have not been playing to win basketball games anyway, right? So if you're dealing with an issue where you already have a competitive problem, and now you're dealing with an issue where a franchise one is trying to, manipulate their roster in a way that may or may not come out with their team losing by 6 or 8 points, right? Like we've seen that happen before, but they are kind of dealing with a similar issue in the same vein of their competitive problems. But Bruce, I will say this, and Otto, I will say this: the league has done a much better job over the last, 4 or 5 years, really just trying to be transparent with the NBA fan when stars are not going to play, when they are going to play, because they know that load management is a real thing and it's a real problem. But to both your points, you guys are very right. This is an issue the NBA is going to have to deal with over the course of the next few years, especially because we're not far off from a lot of these franchises having gambling available in arena. And that's when it becomes a big problem.
And look, it's the way I look at it, it's a product. You decide, you're determining or deciding whether you're going to buy something. Just like the jersey, just like the soda, the soft drink, the popcorn, or gambling. It's a product that you're deciding to enter into or not. And if you don't think that there's value there, or you think you're getting hosed, would you buy a $22 soda? No, because it's a bad deal. And so much the same way, if I thought that this is just crazy, I don't know if my guys are going to play or not. I don't know, who the other team is bringing in. I see guys coming out in street clothes. I'm like, oh, I'm home. I'm already out before the game starts. So, to me, it's a product issue, and the truth will come out in whether people want to put their money down on those teams, and that'll determine whether it's ultimately successful or not.
We'll just keep our eye on Twitter and see when and if the fans start picking up on any of this, or if they don't. It may well be that everything's hunky-dory and I'm just being an alarmist and, should just shut my face. But social media always tells us, these things.
If you'd like to hear more of our thoughts, check out the full version of Catch and Shoot 2.0 from Pure Hoops Media. You can also see the video version of the Catch and Shoot Quick Hitter on the Pure Hoops Media YouTube channel.